everyone, I am Dr. Ravina, NHS doctor specialised in women's health, and I'd like to welcome you to this dedicated channel for women's health, where we aim to educate, empower and inspire women on all things to do with your body. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer, drop them in the comments below and our team will investigate it and we can make a YouTube video for you. If you'd like to learn more and you're on the go, check out our podcast Fertility and Femtech, and of course you can download our free ebook which is in the description below. Of course you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and please do subscribe to us on YouTube and share it with all special people so we can disseminate evidence-based knowledge. Today we'll be discussing ovulation. So what I wanted to do is talk to you a little bit about what ovulation is, and then also the best ways that you can track your ovulation in the comfort of your own home. So let's begin with what ovulation is. Ovulation is the release of an egg. And this is an egg from either side of the ovary. It may be the right side 1 month and the left side the next month, but it can be either or. It can, in rare situations, be both, and in which case you may get twins. The egg will then be released from the ovary and travel down into the tube. And if you imagine an egg and your tube, the tube actually captures the egg. And so it sucks it up into the tube, and it then allows it to move down the tube because the tube has little hair-like structures called cilia, and that allows the egg to move down into the tube so that it can meet the sperm. Now the sperm is released into the vaginal canal and swims up into the cervix and then into the womb, and then from the womb it will then swim into the tube. And the tube actually is where fertilization will occur, because the sperm will be there waiting, and then the tube has sucked in the egg and it will slowly waft the egg further towards the sperm as it swims towards the egg. So that is how ovulation happens. There are key hormones involved in allowing this whole process to happen. One of the most important hormones is LH. There will be an LH, luteinizing hormone, spike 12 to 24 hours before ovulation. And so we can use LH to help us predict when ovulation can occur, so that we can then educate women, and women can then be aware of when they should have sexual intercourse if they want to maximize their chances of conceiving, and also if they are in a situation where they're not having sexual intercourse often, if they're in long distance relationships, if they're on night shifts or difficult sleeping patterns where it may not be so ideal to have regular sexual intercourse, but you do need to get that golden time, which is your fertile window, in order to conceive. I have done a video on female hormones explained if you want to know more about how your hormones affect your body, and I'll link that over here for you. So let's start with the 3 key ways on how you know if you are ovulating. So the first way is identifying your periods and identifying how long your cycles are. If your cycles are lying between day 21 and day 35, then we know you are having regular menstrual cycles. If it lies outside of this, so less than 21 days or more than 35 days, then they are potentially irregular, and you should talk to your healthcare professional or your doctor about how we can try to regulate your cycles if there's anything underlying. So if you have regular periods, then we can assume that you're ovulating regularly. So after ovulation, you have a phase in your menstrual cycle called the luteal phase. And this is usually a fixed and constant phase of the menstrual cycle, which is about 12 to 14 days. So if you have a 28-day cycle, your luteal phase will be 14. And so that leaves us at day 14, which is when ovulation occurs. So we're working backwards from the first day of your period, working backwards. So day 1 is the day you bleed, and then you minus 14 days, which is your luteal phase, and then you have ovulation then. Your fertile window will be about 5 days before that, so between day 9 to 14. And then that time between when you are starting your period up until ovulation is called the follicular phase. Now, this is the phase that can vary from person to person, and it can also vary from month to month in the same person. So, if you have any changes in your life, that follicular phase can be longer or shorter. So that's why ovulation isn't always on an exact date. We need to have a range, because if that follicular phase is longer, that is the time when the follicle within the follicular phase is growing and developing and reaching that maturation stage when it's ready to be released. And only when it's at that stage you'll get ovulation. Because this follicular phase is not fixed, it can mean that if you have PCOS or if you have underlying gynecological issues, you may have a longer cycle if you have a longer follicular phase. The next way you can check whether you're ovulating at home is by checking your body basal temperature. So what women will do is they'll check their temperature every morning at the same time every day, making sure all external factors are constant. So the room is not too cold or hot, you're not wearing too many blankets, the windows aren't open, the air conditioning's not on. And they'll track this every single day. And it's thought that if you're ovulating, there'll be a peak in your progesterone after ovulation, and that can cause an increase in your temperature. So there are a few issues with relying on this as an accurate way of predicting whether you're ovulating. And what happens is the progesterone will be released in a pulsatile manner throughout your menstrual cycle. So there is a really big myth that the higher the level of your progesterone, the higher the rise in your temperature, which indicates that is when you're most fertile. But if I take you back to our graph looking at the changes during our menstrual cycle, you can see that at around day 21, which is our mid-luteal phase, that is when the greatest spike in progesterone occurs. So having a great increase in your temperature at that time is actually post-ovulation. That is after the egg is released. And so if you're relying on that to predict when you should be having sexual intercourse, you may actually miss your fertile window. It may only be useful in identifying if you are ovulating and then using that information for subsequent periods after, so you know when your rough fertile window will be if you have ovulated in that luteal phase. So if you want to use this method, great. Make sure that you're tracking it often, but also be aware of how hormones can change throughout the cycle. And it's actually that small increase in progesterone at ovulation that may be useful for you in order to predict when you're ovulating. So the final way that you can track whether you're ovulating at home is by using ovulation kits. And they're also known as LH kits or LH strips. And these are strips that you urinate on, and they will turn positive if there's LH hormone in your urine. So between 12 to 24 hours before ovulation, you will get an LH surge. And this surge is what causes the egg to be released. By doing an LH strip and it turning positive, you then know you are going to ovulate either that day or the next day. So you can then work out your fertile window by minusing 6 days from the day of the positive strip. And then that will give you a rough time of when your most fertile days will be. You should be having sexual intercourse throughout the whole month, but especially during this time, every other day. This is because it means the sperm will be able to swim up to the tubes and be ready to capture that egg in order to fertilize it. The best time to do LH strips is generally towards the latter half of the day, so maybe after 4 to 10 p.m. This is because you get an LH surge in the morning and it will take some time for that then to present in your urine. So that's why we say towards the end of the day. So to summarize, in this video, we have gone through 3 key ways for you to identify ovulation at home. 1 is by tracking your periods, 2 is by using the basal body temperature, and 3 is by using ovulation kits. Now, all of these methods are usually more supportive of you ovulating and may not be so useful in identifying the fertile window of that particular cycle, but are useful for predicting your fertile window for subsequent cycles. I hope you found this useful. If you do have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and of course, please subscribe and share this with anyone that you love so that we can continue to share evidence-based knowledge. All the best, take care, bye.